Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending Therefore Fusion 2022, and welcome. First and foremost, I want to thank you for joining us, of course. As much as our team enjoys spending FaceTime with all of you throughout the year, we also are very appreciative that this virtual format we have available today allows us a tremendous opportunity to reach a really wide audience for this terrific event that we do. In fact, this year's Fusion event actually sets a record for attendee registrations with over 1,500 guest registrations globally. This group of attendees will include guests from over 90 countries worldwide, which I think is a powerful testament to the incredible reach that such a powerful solution like Therefore has. We're particularly excited about this year's content, which will include everything from our view of Therefore solution development and direction to actual Therefore customers sharing their personal experiences and successes with Therefore. On a personal note, I think what makes Fusion so special is that it provides a very unique opportunity to bring together the three core groups that make Therefore a successful software solution. That starts with our team, from the executive leadership to our development, to those of us who are lucky enough to work with you in the field on a day-to-day basis. We all love what we do, and we really appreciate the opportunity that this event provides us to listen, to learn, and to share. The second key group with us today is our distribution channel, which is made up of various Canon teams, the independent dealerships who bring the solution directly to our customer. Every day you work with customers, you help them identify challenges, you come to the table with creative solutions and help them improve their operation. And it's those engagements that allow Therefore to be a successful software platform. So thank you for all the work you do every day as partners. And finally, and most importantly, we have a number of Therefore customers with us today, both as audience members and guests and as presenters. Everything we do at Therefore is driven by you, the customer, whether it's the ideas you share that lead to our product development or the new and creative ways you deploy the solution. We always follow your lead. We listen to you, we learn from you. And having you with us today is what really makes Fusion such a special event. So again, welcome everyone and enjoy Therefore Fusion 2022. I'm going to hand the mic to my teammate and good friend, Jen Garcia, for her opening comments. Jen?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. Much appreciated. And I too would like to second that emotion on welcoming everyone to our 2022 Fusion event. Really excited. We have a great lineup. I'm not going to speak too much right now. You'll see me again in just a bit, but I'm going to pass it over to Kano, and he is going to update you on what you can expect for today. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and hopefully you will leave today with a few really awesome takeaways. All right, over to you, Kano.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Yes, so hello, everyone. My name is Kono. I'm part of Therefore's digital engagement team. As my colleague said, we're so happy to have you here at Fusion this year. So to be brief, I'm just going to go over the agenda today. So all the times listed here are Eastern time. So if you're on the West Coast, subtract 3. So just about now, we have our welcome with the Therefore team. We have a few things to show you here. Jen's going to come back. She's going to give us more of an introduction, tell us more about the Therefore product. After that, we have a really interesting panel discussion called All the Data, All the Time, which is going to be led by Jeff. And he'll be telling us where we'll be learning more about some of the more technical details with data integration. After that, we have our colleagues from the development team who are going to give us a product demo of the Therefore solution, and we're going to be looking at some of the new features that are coming with Therefore. And then we have, of course, a really exciting part, which is our customer success stories. So we have 2 of these lined up for you today. They're both excellent stories about customers who are using Therefore in very unique and meaningful ways. So that should bring us to about 2:30-ish Eastern. So we'll probably be here with you 90 minutes today. After that, we'll summarize and we can close out in the poll. I would now like to hand back to Jen, who is going to give us a nice overview of the Therefore solution. Jen?
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Kano. I am super excited. From the poll, it looks like we have about 8% of those in attendance that are newer to Therefore, even 14% that are less than a year. So this may be geared a little bit more towards you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And once I do this here, I will have Kano give me a confirm if possible that screen share is happening.
Yep, you're good, Jen.
Right. Okay, perfect. So we'll get this going here. So this is a brief intro on Therefore. Will be some high level information on who we are, what we do, what we have to offer. If you are one of our Canon partners, or if you're one of our awesome customers or interested in Therefore, what we have that could absolutely benefit you and your organization. So with that said, we'll go ahead and pop in. So I'll have a few minutes here. What is Therefore? So Therefore is at its heart an information management solution, and Therefore is sold exclusively through Canon and Canon partners on a worldwide basis. So we are available around the globe, and we are centralized and rooted in Europe, and have a very strong presence here in the Americas, hence us being here for the Americas Fusion today. So we are sold really in most possible places across the world. I like to mention this because we have a lot of longevity already, 30 plus years actually in business, and certainly not going away anytime soon. You're going to see today from our dev team, Stefan and Wolfgang, some of the exciting enhancements that we have coming up with our launch that will be happening soon. So we're constantly innovating, and I love to mention this for those of you that are newer, and a reminder for those of you that may be a customer, Canon partner, that we are continuing to build and to enhance the solution. So you can count on us as needs change, business processes change, that we'll be able to be here for you and continue to grow with you. As I'd mentioned, our global availability is really sold in 10 of the top 10 economies, which is pretty cool. I would think everybody would agree with that. Here in the Americas, we are, of course, in the US and Canada, Latin America, Central America, South America, you name it, we have a presence. So welcome to everybody. I will say that now across the Americas. All right, so what is Therefore? Therefore, at its heart, is a place to keep documents. It's a centralized repository. But Therefore does take it a step further. Now, if you were just using it solely to keep your documents in one location and to keep them secure, fantastic. Therefore does that exceptionally well, right? Making it easy to add and to get to your documents. However, we are an enterprise grade service platform, right? So we do more than just keep your documents in one location and keep them secure, right? So with that, we allow you to manage your information as an asset. What does this mean? It means with Therefore that you can start using your information and your documents to your advantage, right? Using them as an asset. So they're stored centrally in a centralized location, right? Making it easy for you to drive your business forward, pulling from that information and from that data. So your files really no longer have to sit in a file cabinet, or if you are in the 21st century, in a folder or a network folder somewhere. So sitting there, it's taking up space. With Therefore, having a central location that allows you to use that information as an asset really allows you to use the information. It's not just sitting, taking up space, either in paper form or on your computer, right? Eating up that valuable space, right? So looking at your information as an asset allows you to run and optimize your business processes. And what does this mean? This really means, right, that you are able to have a full line of sight into what's going on in your business, right? Know what's going on with your documents and your information, and to be able to leverage that to streamline your business processes, right? Ways that you can do this include use of formalized workflows and e-forms, right? Both are items and features that you get with Therefore. And with Therefore Online, for example, they are included, which is fantastic, right? Very much a comprehensive product. So having these formalized processes, these workflows, e-forms, right, allows you to work smarter and not harder. And I think that's really what everybody is trying to achieve. That's what's going to keep your business moving forward. And you get that with Therefore. And when you are optimizing, streamlining your processes, right, you are helping to have your organization really run better. And you're able to do that by seeing what's happening and making improvements. And part of that, of course, is through the streamlining of your business processes. But finally, it's through analytics, through reporting, right? This is where you can have visibility, truly have visibility into what's going on with your business. This is where you can pivot if you need to, find out what's working, find out what's not working, address any issues as they happen. No more waiting to have to collect data. You're pulling it from different sources, this solution, that solution. Again, remember, therefore is keeping everything centralized in one location, right? And this is huge. So you're able to have the information to run those reports. And with Therefore, we have the Therefore dashboard. This is the real-time opportunity for you with Therefore Online to have a hub where you, again, can see what's happening, right? You can see where workflows might be breaking down. You can see where they might excel. So there's so much that you can do with the Therefore analytics reporting and our dashboard, right? That's going to drive the business forward. And that's really the name of the game, right? This is where you are going to thrive, where you're going to grow, right? And this is thanks to Therefore what we do. So as you can see, Therefore just isn't a place to store documents. It's a great place to store documents. All right. So if you use it that way, that's totally fine. But you really leverage to its full advantage. And this is where you're going to find that you will have an easier time with your documents and information and managing as an asset, right, as I had mentioned before, and really being able to stay connected to that information, which again is going to drive your business forward. Right. All right. So whether your team's at home, office, a hybrid combination of both, really doesn't matter, right? We're here for you. And in a nutshell, that's what Therefore is. So a little bit of a refresher maybe for those that have seen that, know about it. For those of you that are new, that are exploring Therefore, hopefully that will give you a little bit more info. And then finally, we do have a couple different flavors of Therefore, which is on-premise and cloud version, right? Cloud is hosted on the Microsoft Azure platform. And this is huge. Microsoft is trusted. Microsoft Azure platform has the global reach, has that geo redundancy, the high uptime, and compliance, right? Security. So in addition to what Therefore offers, the Microsoft Azure platform will take it also to the next level, right? Very important this day and age when it comes to the hackers and attackers and ransomware, that there be as much security as possible. Microsoft Azure helps that. And then finally, start to finish with Therefore, areas that we really keep an eye on are capture. So different ways that you can bring those documents into Therefore, e-forms, through the use of mailbox monitoring, checking emails, bringing those into Therefore. Good old fashioned drag and drop. Is that your flavor? Fantastic. Then also there's the opportunity to access the information anytime, anywhere. Web browser, Therefore Go, which is awesome, included in every edition of Therefore. Also security, which I just mentioned, very, very much top of mind with Therefore. Automation, this is the workflows that I refer to, allowing you to automate and move information for approvals, whatever the process might be, right? You're able to automate with Therefore. Managing information, going back to managing it as an asset. This also includes integrations, right? Integrations are really, really important with third-party solutions, accounting solutions, et cetera. And then finally, the analysis, which we just talked about, which includes things like our dashboard, which is huge. All right, so wrapping it up now, give some time back to the amazing panel that we have coming up, to our product demo, and to our customer story soon. What Therefore gives you are 5 key things. So hopefully you will take these away today. The first is productivity, right? So overall, using Therefore, you're going to be more productive. Your teams are going to be more productive. They're also going to be more reactive. And with some companies, speed may be the key between you and another business that gets that person's business, right? So very important that you can react quickly, being able to find documents and retrieve them quickly. You get that with Therefore. Visibility, we talked about the reporting, super important when you need to see what's going on. Security, we talked about, and then finally, flexibility. This is huge. With Therefore, we have the flexibility to move and to pivot with you as an organization, no matter what, right? No one size fits all when it comes to each of your businesses. And so with that, right, customers, super important to Therefore. The future is incredibly important to Therefore. I talked about the innovation. And so with that, I think that I myself, of course, and all of you would love to hear some words from Michael Labita. So I'll pass it over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Jennifer. Let's talk about how we shape what's next. Our strategy is to be the platform for real-time business. In reality, this means the platform for your business. We understand you have a business to run, and we want to give you a reliable and scalable technology to grow and give you the peace of mind to help you focus on your core operation. We all have heard about economic forecasts for 2023, that the economy will be challenging. And we are reading in the newspaper about a slowdown of the economy and inflationary pressure. However, we know that with every challenge, there is also opportunity. This is why we at Therefore are optimistic and focused on giving you adaptability and visibility through our platform. The two factors we want to get right for you are time and money. With time, the efficiency you gain with Therefore is as close as you can get to buying time. We know you're all passionate about optimizing the way your business runs, and we want to give you a tool to achieve your goal. With money, we are focused on delivering measurable results to your business with clear and predictable cost of ownership. And how does Therefore deliver? For businesses, we deliver the results they need. For people, we deliver trust and dependability. Creating a global product is all about listening to our customers and partners. Thank you for the trust you place in Therefore in running your business and mission-critical operations. Today, our team is proud to present not only the Therefore product, but also concepts, ideas, and customer stories to contribute to your success in 2023. Enjoy the event.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael. One of the things that you mentioned was the need for a reliable and scalable technology platform. So I believe that this is more relevant than ever because we all know there's a sort of ever increasing amount of data that businesses of every size, really, from global enterprises down to small local businesses are handling nowadays. And not only handling this data, but also making use of that data is the key to optimizing your business. So to move on to our next session, staying with this topic, I would like to call Jeff back to the stage. Jeff's going to lead our panel discussion today. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kono. I'm really excited to be hosting today's panel because it features two guests I know are going to bring a lot of value to all of you who are in the audience today. First, I'd like to introduce Arthur Saldivar. And Arthur, feel free to share your camera and microphone. Arthur is a manager of business intelligence at Canon Solutions America. In addition to his official job title at Canon, Arthur is also a Six Sigma Black Belt, which I know will bring a very unique voice to our discussion today, particularly as it pertains to how companies can leverage data strategy to improve operations and operational efficiency. Also joining myself and Arthur from the Therefore team is Stefan Barth. Stefan is our CTO and our team's directional leader when it comes to development and long-term strategy of the Therefore solution. So welcome, Arthur. Welcome, Stefan. Let's dive into our subject today, all the data, all the time. I'm going to start with a question for Arthur. Arthur, how are organizations and IT departments dealing with the huge amounts of data that a modern day company produces and interacts with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's a very important question. I think the Successful organizations concentrate more on a holistic approach that starts with ecosystem architecture and more of a data congruence type thing, meaning that the systems that collect and store and use this data don't only just speak to each other, but they end up speaking the same language. I think that's something that also usually gets lost in the weeds. We often encounter these organizations that collect data in kind of disparate systems, whether it be, partially here in an ERP system, sometimes, and a lot of times, I mean, the adage that business is built on Excel, often is the case. And a lot of this data gets collected and then also stored in Excel. So you've got data that exists in Excel sheets, you've got data that exists in things like the backend, relational databases, or even on local systems like an Access or a SQL Server Express or something like that. And the problem that they face, and this is oftentimes self-inflicted, is that the data is shaped differently. The systems don't or can't communicate with each other. And the end result is kind of a lot of storage space that's being used in housing important data. And this can't be used outside of these more specialized or myopic scopes. Like, so maybe inventory counts are done on an Excel sheet, but then stored on somebody's local hard drive. So you can't get this data elsewhere, and it can't be used in more important decision-making processes. So the successful organizations, on the other hand, have done generally two things correctly, in my opinion. First, they identify these communication gaps and have either built or purchased a third-party software solution to connect and replace these disparate systems, as well as reshaping their past data. And I think this is the most important part, and often the most difficult part is the reshaping of this past data to then communicate with your new systems. And this creates this continuity of data and the congruence. And secondly, they've designed, and I think this is the most important part, is they've designed best practices and protocols to follow when establishing these new systems. Building a new system is great, but if you're not thinking about the other parts of the system or even the future of the system, you could be wasting a lot of time in the end.
Thanks, Arthur. That's really insightful. You had a lot of bullet points that we talk when engaging customers and their long-term and big challenges they deal with. I appreciate that. I'd like to ask you another question that also deals with organizational data strategy. And it's this: what's a major technical challenge that organizations face today, specifically when it comes to integrating the large volumes of data?
Sure. In my opinion, and coming from both the consultative and the development end of the spectrum, I believe it's really the remediation of the current data. Usually, when we get into these systems, things are shaped in a way that it simply can't be connected to other data. Sometimes you have to sit there and think of, sometimes for months at a time, trying to connect and reshape and retype these data points. Luckily, though, we do have software out there, such as Therefore, that really helps with these kinds of activities. And it's designed specifically to solve that issue of the connectivity and the future go forward plan. However, that remediation of the past data usually involves creation of very complex pipelines and scripts and database modifications. And while creating these is difficult enough, it's also the continued maintenance and accuracy of these pipelines, because there's always going to be some new exception that we encounter or a new business case that we have to integrate into our system that isn't set up to be handled by these pipelines or the scripts. So really, it's just not only this. And I say that not as kind of a cheerleader for any specific system, but the sooner that the companies do this, and I know remediation and getting these software systems set in place is a huge, there's sometimes a large cost barrier to it. It only gets worse as time goes on. The more business cases you tack on, or the more use cases you have for your data, or as your system becomes more complex, the more costly it's going to be in the future to remediate all that data, when you could have done it when the problem was small and then started designing that holistic system that I was talking about earlier.
Excellent. It makes complete sense. Continuing on that subject. Oh, by the way, I don't have to ring a bell every time you say Therefore. I appreciate you dropping in there. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
sure.
But excellent response. Continuing on this subject a little bit further, as you know, Arthur, many Canon and therefore customers are looking for guidance in this area, right? Can you give an example or examples of successful data integration operations strategies, or like information governance best practices?
Sure. And to me, it's that second part that really hits home. Like you said, coming from a Six Sigma background, I was always involved in more continuous improvement and integration solutions. And most of the time, people dismiss the last step of that DMAIC process, which is control, right? We're all attracted to the flashy analysis and the measuring and building that solution. But that last portion is about that control of the process or the governance of the data. And why I say this is you can go and have this huge data integration solution created. But like I said earlier, if you don't have that control or the governance placed on your data or the systems or the collection processes, your investment can sometimes be entirely nullified. So here at Canon, a lot of our processes that we've reshaped to fit into a more centralized data system, and so we can start using this data on a very important level to speed up the business the business decision process and getting that accuracy and things like that, has been to start validating, working on the front end and the collection of the data and ensuring that when we build a system, we're thinking about not just the current system that we have, but thinking about what the system might be looking like in the future, and not just, and I think I see this in a lot of companies, we again have this very myopic scope when it comes to process. We look at what we need the output to be for this process at the time, but we don't think of how that output could be used or is attached to some other department in the organization. So, while a lot of companies, rightfully so, tend to look at security and especially of the data in the database with deletion, duplication, things like that, we've decided it's very much just as important to handle that front end portion of the collection, and the way we've done that is through a lot of data validation previous to actually entering into the system through automated processes. And instead of free form like Excel or something like that, we would use something like a therefore form that we would create just to make sure that the data that's going in there is not only going to be useful to us in this process, but then can be attached to and related to data elsewhere. But going back to what I had said initially about that control portion is, and I think this sets us apart from a lot of organizations, is that we have a change management department inside of Canon that is specifically designed to get an overwhelmingly high amount of buy-in and a continued adherence to these processes. So again, you could have this wonderful process set up, and if this person that's been here for 15, 20 years says, well, the way that I do it is faster and better, they continue doing it their way, or they revert some settings, or they find a way to circumvent the system breaks down. So you end up, the organizations end up wasting a lot of money. So again, it's that, and again, Canon uses our excellent change management professionals to ensure that we have that adherence, that we have that buy-in. So going forward, we're not just throwing money at a problem and having it disappear on us.
Awesome. Great responses. All around, really. Thank you. There's a lot to chew on in what you gave us, I think, there, but some really good takeaways. I particularly like that you threw the garbage in, garbage out theory of, let's make sure when we're working on a solution that we're thinking about validating data on the front side. I think that's brilliant. Something that can get overlooked. We get dazzled by the excitement of a new technology sometimes and don't think about that workflow and to make it more efficient and better. And that's a great point. I'm going to pivot now to Stefan. Stefan, Arthur gave us some great insight when it comes to challenges of integrating large volumes of data. I wanted to ask your opinion on some specific solutions. Let's start off with low-code integration, something we're hearing a lot about these days in both the marketing and technical side. But let's start with basics. What exactly is low-code integration in the context of information management?
Yeah, sure. thanks. We just heard about the importance of integrating the data, and low-code integration and also no-code integration is a second word. This obviously helps us to integrate the data without coding. So thinking about the traditional way of doing integrations work is you have to code something. So you need software development skills. You need the whole coding testing cycle. You end up with a solution which is in the end very difficult to change. So this way of working makes these projects really big and complicated. And so that's where the low code, no code idea comes in, that you want to be able to have a really easy to go way to integrate the data of different areas. So vendors tried this way, for example, by giving customers ways to integrate data with a graphical user interface, connecting the processes, for example, by just sending small configurable REST calls between the applications to send data or get data. Even small scripts. So in scripting languages, you can also do some things where you might say it's coding already, but still scripting is of course a much more lightweight solution for doing a bit of coding. And that's maybe where also this bit strange name of low code comes from. I mean, what do you understand by low code? It is coding, but it's a really low level, easy to use and easy to change.
Right, makes sense. Thank you. I have a follow-up on that. What impact does this low code approach have on Therfor's product development strategy?
Well, we always throughout the years try to make things as simple as possible for our customers, and really thinking about the old days, we were starting right from the beginning with options like this, like the reference tables, for example, where you can simply plug in data which you have available in a database into Therfor and make use of it without writing a line of code. Also keep in mind, many integrations between Therfor and third-party software is built based on a workflow process where you export some data where some other application can pick it up, or the other way around, using Content Connector to pick up information. So we have many such options all the time. And more recently, we added, for example, the call REST task in the workflow, which allows you directly to have a workflow task, an automatic task, which is configurable and just sends out a REST call to a third-party service to get data or to send data to that. So these are all options where you see how Therfor can be integrated with other applications in the low code or even no code manner.
Awesome, awesome, great information. I have another question for you. One of the topics we've been hearing a lot about in the context of large-scale integration projects is something called data fabric. Data fabric, it's a new glossary term for us. So I'd like to ask this. Can you tell us more about the data fabric concept and how it can help solve integration challenges?
Yeah, the data fabric is tries to address really all the needs we also heard before. It's a design concept, and it adds an additional layer on top of the data you have in the different repositories. And in the end, the data fabric allows you to access all your data, no matter where it is stored. Is it database? Is it online? Is it on-premise? Is it Excel files? Is it applications which store the data? Access all of that in a unified manner and in a governed manner. So I think this is pretty much what we heard before by Arthur, that it's so important to have this consolidated view and access on all data. Because once you have this, then of course it gets easy to connect the different data points, to define the permissions, who is allowed to access what data, to bring them together, to have great analytics. Yeah, so this is definitely one way which some customers go today to solve their problems around data governance. And sure, it's then a buzzword. In the end, it's exactly the same what Arthur told us before.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, good. Very helpful. and I always like to learn something in each one of these get-togethers, and so now I can say I did. So thank you for that definition. The last panel question I want to pose is also for you, Stefan, and that's this: managing large volumes of data is certainly difficult, right? But one advantage is that when you do that, you have a lot of useful information behind it, right? So we know that extracting, insights from data is just as large of a challenge, in addition just to managing the data. So to that point, how do you see the future of data analytics with the Therefore product?
Yeah, for us at Therefore, this was an important topic throughout the years. I just can remind you that several years ago, we started with analytics based on SQL reporting, based on Power BI, which was a great step forward to help our customers really make use of the data they have in Therefore. So this is not the huge thing when we talk about, when talking about a data fabric, the holistic approach across all the data you have in the enterprise. But exactly for the data which you have in Therefore, and alone this data is also very, very valuable because it gives you insights into your business processes. It gives you insight into the index data you have available, whatever you store in Therefore. This can really be very helpful. And recently with the dynamic web view, we also brought dashboards to the web view. So we also give additional options to bring in data to the first screen people see when they connect to Therefore. And that's definitely a topic where we want to improve things in future. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Stefan. And so thank you again to both you and Arthur for your insights today. A terrific discussion. I appreciate it very much. Very impressive replies. And there's certainly a lot we can take away from this discussion going forward. So again, thank you. That wraps up the panel Q&A. And I'd like to hand the mic back to you, Kono.
All right, thank you, Jeff, Arthur, Stefan. Once again, thanks for sharing your insights with us. So what I took away from the discussion is, basically handling. We know that handling and managing large volumes of data is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to gain useful insights that help you improve the way you work. And at least for me, being from a non-technical background, it was really interesting to hear about the sort of reality behind the buzzwords that you hear, the data fabric, the low code, no code, all of that, and especially, information governance. I think Arthur explained it in a way that's, clear for a layperson to understand. So it was really interesting for me, and I think for a lot of other people to see this topic discussed. But staying with the technical topic now, I would like to ask Stefan to stay with us actually for the next session, but I would like to ask Wolfgang to please join us, and we're going to take a look at the product demo. So gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, I will quickly share my screen, just a moment. Yeah, and now, so Wolfgang and myself, we would like to give you an update about new features which have been released with the product in the version Therefore 2022, which was our release in spring, and also in the version Therefore Online, version 28, which is the brand new version, which is currently brought to production in Therefore Online. So the first updates have been done already, and this is now, the worldwide system is upgraded now. We want to do this in two parts. One part is that I will give you an introduction with some slides, and then I will hand over to Wolfgang to also show you the most important features in action. So when talking about the improvements in these two versions, I will talk about the Therefore integration with Teams, which is brand new right now with the Therefore Online update. I will talk about enhancements in the Therefore Dynamic Web View and also quickly touch a bit on other improvements. Let's start with the Therefore integration for Microsoft Teams. So with this very first version of an integration to Teams, we focused on one specific use case which we wanted to cover in Teams. And this is the use case of working with workflow tasks in Teams. So what you can see here in the screenshot, which is animated here a bit, you see that there is something like a Therefore chat, so to say, where the Therefore system alerts users whenever a workflow instance comes in and the user should take action. And from the Teams interface, the user can then take decisions like approve, reject, or whatever actions are available, configured in the workflow, and can also view the document. Yeah. So this Teams integration gives him the option to process workflow actions directly from the Teams user interface. Going to the next area, I want to talk about the dynamic web view. Both versions had several enhancements in this area, including increased stability and performance, but we also added lots of features. For example, what is just coming out right now with the Therefore Online update is executing saved searches. So the dynamic web view allows you to access existing saved searches and execute them. You can also save the hit list layout, which you have in the dynamic web view so that it's used the next time you go to the same category. You can access your e-forms, and you can also download, print documents, and many more, which have been already released in spring. So I guess they're not that new. Maybe what I want to touch a bit more in detail is the sharing of dashboards, because the dashboards is really a new feature with our dynamic web view, where users can configure the first screen with analytics information. They can have their workflow inbox on that screen. They can have a drop soon to save new documents. And the new thing now is that power users can configure such a dashboard and share it with their other team members, because this is a bit of an advanced thing, obviously, to configure a screen like this and take the exact decisions. What should be shown here? How should it be shown? So this makes absolutely sense if this is done by power users or administrators, and then it's made available to other team members. There are many more improvements which might be a little bit more technical. One example here is the filtering of reference tables. So technically, it allows you for all these lookup fields, which take the values from reference tables, that you define a filter for which values should be shown in the drop down, and you can also make use of other values in the index data to filter down what is shown. So you see one example here in the animated screenshot of a hierarchical field where you select one field after another. So this would be possible, but there are more use cases where this really can help you to build cool solutions for your customers. There are several more performance enhancements. Also, the import-export of configurations was really significantly improved. I can only say, please take a look at our release notes and refresher training and all that information which is prepared already. You will find goodies which will help you building great solutions. But now I think everybody is also excited to see this live in action. And so I would like to hand over to Wolfgang to show this to us.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Let me also share my screen now.
And Wolfgang, before you start, I just wanted to add for our audience, if you have any questions about the demo, please use the Q&A function, which should be at the bottom of your screen. So if you type your question in there, we will answer it, time permitting, at the end of the demo.
Thanks, Kono. Yeah, welcome to the demo. I'm going to show you one sample use case of Therefore, which is around HR. In this case, we're going to touch on applications. So if somebody wants to apply for a job in your company, how can you manage this process efficiently and using all the tools that are anyway used, like Teams and the web browser. So what I'm going to run through is like, how people apply for a job in the company and how like the first decisions are going to be taken after the application is received. For starting this off, we're actually going to use also an not exactly new feature of Therefore, but one that is very well used and received around the globe, which is the eForms. So I'm going to fire off an anonymous eForm here that could be also well integrated into your company homepage. So it could be also part of an iframe or just somewhere seamlessly integrated into your company page, company homepage. So let me file the first application for Julia in this case. She's coming from United Kingdom, so I just type in the data we're gonna need here. She's applying for a career engineer job with us. She found us on LinkedIn, and we're gonna add her CV. Well, that's pretty much it. So we agree to the terms and submit the CV to the system. So this is now saved to Therefore and immediately firing off a workflow process with us. And to like handle that, you see already the Teams is popping up here. So now actually this is showcasing the Teams connector, which is brand new in this release now, where people get like automatically notified about workflow tasks that are in their inbox into their Teams UI. In this case, you see that there is a card generated inside of Teams from Therefore, where we see, for example, on top here, that's the process we talk about. So that's job applications for the QA team. We have the current process task, the step in the process, which is about reviewing the CV that we just received. We have some data about the just received CV, which is like first name, last name, and some more. And we got our instructions. So what is supposed to happen in this task? So in this task, we should be like checking the CV, and in the end, deciding if we wanna invite the person for an interview. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna press View Document, which is firing up the Therefore Dynamic Web View, and is showing us the document. We got the application converted to PDF for us if you want to check it. But most important for sure, we have the CV. And we can check it, take a look at it, and by this take an educated decision on how to, or if you want to invite the person to a next level. So if you go back to Teams now, we can, here's the additional information. So we can provide some more information for the next person in the process. We're going to add some statement here. And here we have the possible decisions for us: interview the candidate or reject. So in this case, it's obvious that we want to interview her. So we press the interview button, which finishes up these workflow tasks. The card is replaced. We basically see the decision taken here on the card. You still have a link to the document, so you can always go back and view it once more. But in the end, that's actually where the first step of the process ends for this user. But I want to still show another use case. So I'm going to file a second application here for John. He's applying for a front-end developer job with us, also found us on LinkedIn. Let's attach his CV and submit the application once more. Again, the first step is pretty much the same. In Teams, we will get the job to do. So we get the information that there's a new application coming in now, and we can process it. But this time, I'm going to switch to a second person of the HR team to show you that this integration is keeping in sync, and also make sure that if somebody else is processing the task before you could do it, that this is updated and reflected. So I'm gonna switch the account now to Kathy, which is also part of the HR team. So I'm logging with Kathy. I'm going into my inbox of the workflow, and that's the workflow we just received. I'm going to open it up. And this time, instead of processing it in Teams, I'm going to process it here in the Therefore Dynamic Web View. So I'm going to claim the instance. I'm going to write a comment. And reject the application. And the important part to notice is that although I didn't do anything in Teams, the card was updated. And we have the information that this task was taken by somebody else. So that means there will never be any kind of leftovers or offhand cards floating around in Teams. Whenever somebody's outside of your or some other person is processing the task, the Teams is going to be updated and kept in sync, which makes sure that there's no chaos starting up here, and everybody knows what tasks are still open to be done and be processed. Still, even if the task has been unassigned from me, I can still view the document and check what happened. So I'm going to press the button once more to go back to John. And for example, now I could check what happened and why it was, or who took the decision and why. So that's always still possible. But next, I want to quickly go to the dashboard and show you that you get a quite neat and good overview on the dashboard what's happening inside your processes. In this case, for example, I have my two main application processes here on the first screen, which is the QA applications and the developer applications. I can easily see and check the different statuses and how many are in each of those. So I see I have like 6 interviews waiting for me in the QA side, and I got 6 others on the developer side. I have 2 more CVs to review. And so actually by this dashboard gives you a really nice and great overview about the status of your process. As Stefan mentioned earlier, for sure such a dashboard is typically created by a power user and shared with others. And as I don't want to go too deep into that because the feature was already released last time, but I just wanted to point out that this can be done here in the manage area of the dashboards. There's this icon with the globe, which allows to share dashboards with other people and make it available to them so that they can easily or better make use of it. Yeah, next, I want to switch to another feature which is really brand new in this release of the Dynamic Web View, which is the ability to make use of saved searches or quick searches. So to show you this, I'm going to the repository and the job applications category. And the area below here is the new one, which is showing you, like in this case, 4 predefined searches for this specific category, where the first 2, newest and modified by me, are standard and available for all the categories without any configuration. Open Dev applications and Open QA applications are some that were created explicitly in the Navigator, saved globally, and by this are made available also to the Dynamic Web View. What's quite neat on here is that actually it just costs me 1 click, for example, to newest, and I'm immediately brought back to the list of current applications, and it shows me just the newest documents on top. If I want to further drill down, so if this is just too much information for me, I can easily go into one of the columns here and, for example, start typing QA, and this immediately filters me down to only show me the QA engineers here. And I can even go further and just take the last name and say I want to only see the QA engineers that are applying and have the last name starting with a B. No idea why, but it's one option. It easily shows you down and immediately drill down into the list and shows you only the items that fit to the criteria. That's a quite very fast and easy way to get to your data. But if you go back once more, like the Open Dev application, what's also important to mention here that if you have prepared a dedicated search on the backend for this use case, the Dynamic Web View now also takes over things like grouping. You see that this hit list is grouped by application status. It can take over the sorting. It can take over the layout of the columns and which columns to show. So everything that was predefined on the backend is now taken over, and you can easily, organize and create the searches however you want it. Again, all the other possibilities apply here too. So if you want to drill down further, you can start typing something and drill down. Or vice versa, you can remove one search criteria, like for the developers only, and let's put the N away too, which brings you pretty much all applications that are available for now, group by status. That's a quite neat and powerful way to very, very fast get access to the data and also have a very good means of drilling down into a specific area if you need to. And last but not least, I want to show one more way of finding information in Therefore, because we noticed that this is sometimes a little bit misunderstood. The simple search up here is a quite powerful way to search for data in the index data, in the metadata provided for the document, because it basically does a search across all provided metadata. So you don't even need to know, for example, in which column or where the data exactly is. You can basically just type and get the document that fits. In advanced search, you would need to know, like, search for the last name, you're searching for the first name, you're searching for the recruiter. If you use the simple search, you can just type the term you search for, press the search button, and wherever in the index data the term is coming up, it will show you the item here in this list, which is also a very fast and very efficient way to find data in the Therefore category. Yeah, that's pretty much the demo I wanted to show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of it. And now I'm handing back to Kono for possible questions and answers.
Yeah, guys. Thank you so much for that. So we do have a few questions. So I am going to read these out for the benefit of the audience. I'll read them out, and Stefan, Wolfgang, you guys can go ahead and answer. So the first question was, can you have dashboard Can you have dashboard tiles in the dynamic web viewer which show workflow instances per workflow in a period of time?
Up to now, we don't have the tile. That's for sure some very good extension for future enhancements on the workflows. The data technically is in the system available, and for example, we use it for other reports done with the reporting services, for example, where you can have the data available. But for the dynamic WebView dashboard, we don't have such a tile yet, but for sure this is a very good request for the future.
Yes, definitely sounds like something that would be useful. All right, next question is about eForms. And the question is, does Therefore take any steps to ensure that a document added to Therefore in a form is not malicious?
Yes, we take action. So with any document, no matter whether it comes from eForms or some other way, we always have the virus scanner, which is installed on the server machine, is scanning all the incoming documents. For on-premise, I think this is configurable, so you might want to check your advanced settings in the Therefore system. For Therefore Online, that's clearly mandatory.
Okay. The next questions are about Teams. So one of the questions is, how does the licensing work with the Teams integration? So I can answer one side of that, which is that from the Therefore side, there is no licensing needed. And then there was actually a question by someone else, which is related, is do we need a Therefore user license with the Teams connector? And that one I believe is yes, right, Stefan?
Yes.
Okay. True. Right. Okay. Next one about Teams. Question is, when will the Teams connector be available, and does it only apply to Therefore Online?
Yeah. The Teams, we are just in the final phase of the certification process with Microsoft. It should be available early next week, I would expect. What we have to be aware of, and everybody, especially in this audience, is that it only works with the updated version of Therefore Online. So especially for the US, we need to wait for the update to happen, which is next
November
week.
2nd.
November 2nd.
Yeah.
And Canada is 27th of October.
All right. Okay. So we need to wait for the dates for the US time zones that this connector really works in the end. So that's a little bit of the problem with the global rollout to some extent, because some systems are already updated. But as I said, we expect it to be in the App Store next week. And then it can be used in the US systems whenever they have been upgraded to the latest Therefore version.
Right.
Yeah, and it's for Therefore Online only as of today, because this is a new feature also of the Therefore backend. And well, the latest version is for Therefore Online, and the same features will be available for on-premise customers with the next spring release. So you can expect for the Therefore 2023 release next spring that this will be also available for on-premise customers.
Great. Thank you, guys. Let's take 2 more questions in the interest of time. So again, I'm going just in the order that they were asked. So we had one question asked, is it feasible to add integrations with other applications developed in ASPX, PHP, or others?
I'm not absolutely sure what part of the demo this is. Probably dynamic web view, maybe. I don't know. But
It may just be a general question as well. Yeah.
I mean, Therefore itself can for sure be integrated and used from many different types of applications and as a backend in the back. But as I said, this is a little bit too generic for me to really give a well-formed answer to this.
We do have an API and a web API. So in general, with those, you can, if you can dream of it, you can do it usually. Okay, so the next one I'm going to take, because I suppose it's a more subjective question. We got the question, what do you think is the most powerful point of this update? I guess that's down to opinion. For me, it would be the Teams connector. I would say that's the biggest feature in this update. There's lots of nice little upgrades, but the Teams connector, I think, is the one that also from the community we've heard the most feedback from. So as we can see, we've got a lot of questions about it as well. Yeah, so in my opinion, it's the Teams connector. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for this demo, and thank you to the audience for your questions. In the interest of time, like I said, we do have to move on. So Stefan, Wolfgang, really great job with the demo. We're now going to move on to the next part, which is actually our customer stories. So we have 2 of these from the US. We have 2 US-based customers who are going to share their stories with us. To share the first story, I would like to ask Jen to come on stage and get us started with our first story.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kano. I am super excited to welcome our first speaker, who happens to be Dominic Namnath. And Dominic, who is joining us live from beautiful Santa Barbara, California, is actually the Chief Information Officer at Tri-Counties Regional Center. For those of you that aren't familiar with TCRC, they actually serve over 18,000 people in the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura County areas in California. They actually also directly infuse into those 3 counties over $500 million and are part of a 21 regional center setup of over $10 billion in the state of California. So really quite the substantial organization doing a really great service that actually does serve over 330,000 people collectively, right, between the 21 regional centers. And as I had mentioned, 18,000 alone in the Tri-Counties area. So I'm excited for this. I hope all of you are excited. And with that, so Dominic, I know you've been in the tech industry for a while. Little Birdie says maybe 35 plus years. And you've worked for some Fortune 100 companies, which is impressive. How did you wind up at TCRC?
Yeah, well, hello, everybody, to start off with. I am pleased to be here and share this story of Tri-Counties Regional Center with you all. I landed at Tri-Counties after 12 years with EDS, Electronic Data Systems, Ross Perot's old company. And I had worked on some major infrastructure projects, multi-billion-dollar projects for companies like General Motors, Xerox, Visa International, The Gap, Banana Republic, Hitachi, companies like that, building out worldwide infrastructure for those organizations. And so I picked up a lot of knowledge and skills through all of that. And come around 1999, selfishly, I looked at the horizon and I did not want to do Y2K. And we were directing a lot of resources towards Y2K, and being a coder from back in the day, I had the skills with COBOL and some assembler language. And so my name came up quite often. And so I bailed. I was like, I just don't want to do that. It probably sounds pretty cliche, but the cliche cover letter stuff. I really wanted an opportunity to see if my experiences could be utilized in a meaningful way. And I didn't want to travel anymore, and so I wanted to stick in Santa Barbara. And I stumbled across Tri-Counties. I turned them down at first, and they came back and talked me into it. And here I am, 22 years later, still here.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know Therefore actually was not the first application that TCRC brought on board for document management. So can you let everyone know when you converted to Therefore, and really, maybe more importantly, why Therefore?
Yeah, when I got there, actually, they had already started the engagement with Canon about digitizing the records. Back in '97, when HIPAA was passed in the United States, part of the funding also was for digitizing medical records. Our organization, we deal with folks with developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, autism, those kinds of things. And so we have medical records, and we're governed by HIPAA. So I got there, and actually there was this really cool piece of hardware that Canon dropped off, which is a worm drive jukebox that had 100 worm cartridges in this machine, and it just like a jukebox would put them inside the drive, and it was like the coolest thing ever. We still had it because I liked watching it, but I think my iPhone has more storage than that thing at this point. But that journey began, and they started out. We started out using AX from Documentum, and it was a slow-moving process, and things started off slow and continued slow because it was just sort of a fill-in project while people were doing their work. So it was fill-in. But come around the early 2010s, 2012, we realized that we were reaching critical mass with the data, and that we could, at that point, begin the planning to integrate the EDM into our day-to-day operations and put it into production, real production for staff to use in that way. And then we looked at AX, and we priced AX out with Canon, and we're like, yeah, no. The nickel and dime approach that they took back then was just untenable to us. And so we began the process of looking with Canon, and Canon presented Therefore with us. And other than the head scratching on the name, we took a look at it, and we saw the benefits of using this platform to bring the data to staff. We did not want them in the AX user interface. And so the Therefore user interface was what brought us initially to it. And then, part of that was the ability to integrate with our legacy system, which is a 40-year-old IBM DB2 based database that's still in production. And so we had to integrate with some legacy applications. And so when we converted in 2013, 14, and we began that process, it was fantastic because staff didn't have to learn anything because we integrated it into the existing IBM platform. And with just a click on a link, they could find and retrieve their case records.
I love it. Sounds simple, which is, definitely something that Therefore does very well from back end to front end.
Yeah, one of the greatest things about Therefore is the lack of friction. When we talk about friction in our world, it just slows down the process of getting people services that they need, and the search was just one part of it. For my staff, they didn't have to load any apps. They didn't have to do any of those kinds of things. It just it kind of occurred overnight. And so that was very cool.
That's awesome. Well, you had mentioned your world. So with that being said, so your world or your agency, I know your mission is to support people with intellectual disabilities, plus other stuff. How does Therefore contribute in fulfilling your mission?
Yeah, it's one of those invisible behind the curtain things. But the impact, the final impact was, it was not unusual to take 3, 4, 5 weeks for a service to start. So a family or a person that we serve would come to us, or a pediatrician, a doctor, a teacher or something would say, hey, we need, we think these services would be appropriate. And so we authorize those services. And like I said, it could take a month or so before those services began. If you could imagine, say, a parent with a special needs kid that needs a service, like it could be transportation or something like that. And we say, yeah, we can start this toward the end of November, beginning of December. That's a huge, huge ask. And so with the ability of our service coordinators out in the field to be able to communicate, have that discussion with the pediatrician or the family member or a parent or a teacher and say, all right, let's get this paperwork going. And so they would start doing the paperwork. They would start that process going, and being able to see the chart, the medical charts right then and there, where they could share, and collaborate with everyone that's necessary to get this thing done. Starting about 5 years ago, we were able to deliver services actually faster than Amazon Prime. And it's funny because a Prime truck just pulled up in front of my house. But
Perfect
yeah,
timing.
we can start services in under 2 days. And if you really think about that, I bet you couldn't get a dentist appointment in 2 days.
No.
It was astounding. And people come into our system from other regional centers expecting this long delay. And they're like, oh no, yeah, how about Thursday? Day after tomorrow, that kind of a thing. We'll have you picked up, that kind of thing. Or they leave our center and go to another regional center and they complain. It's like, why is it taking so long? And from a business perspective, we were the first, therefore, customer in the regional center system. And I lost count of how many other regional centers have converted to therefore from OnBase, Microfiche, AX, and all of those different products, because they see what we can do, and they see how our process is wrapped around things like therefore in our stack, and the outcomes speak for themselves.
I love that, which just goes to show that we definitely focus a lot, and we talked about tech earlier, right? In the event today, and a lot of really great things that are coming up and things that we've done. But it's also good to not lose sight of, why companies like TCRC have therefore, which is to help people, right? And not just employees, you have the lives of those with the developmental intellectual disabilities and caretakers, right? So there's so many people impacted. And so it's nice to see, that we are able to help fulfill your mission statement to help take care of these individuals and quickly, right? Timely fashion.
Yeah, from a staff perspective, when COVID came down, our staff were able to go mobile within 24 hours because they had all of their access to all of the case records they needed. And if it wasn't for about 25 laptops we were waiting for, we would have been 100% in 24 hours. And as it was 72 hours, and we had 350 employees mobile. And we also have accounting records and HR records and stuff like that within therefore. So it was kind of an interesting transition. Our staff loved it. They don't want to come back to the office. We have 7 offices now, but they still they can work remote and be very effective. So yeah, from a staff perspective, they don't even know to appreciate therefore, because it just sort of happens behind the scenes.
And that's beautiful. I think honestly, that's probably one of the greatest testaments to therefore, is that when it's doing its job and it's running well, you don't really know that it's there. You just know that you can get things done. And I think that's pretty awesome. Which brings us to, as we wrap things up. So I know you've had therefore for about 7 or so years, which is quite a while. We love it. Thank you so much for the long partnership. So what does therefore bring to the table for you for TCRC, and how is it sustaining its place in your stack, your tech stack?
Yeah, well, selfishly, again, I'm very selfish, and I'm also very lazy. But I have standards, right? As a CIO, I'm responsible for quite a bit of activity, and one of the things that is the ultimate test is stability. I can't even recall the last time I actually had a therefore conversation with any of my staff as far as what's going on. Is it up, down? It's like I honestly don't recall any kind of system failure with therefore. And I think the ability to rely on that is really critical, because as we build and attach onto it, like we've attached Box integration, DocuSign, and things like that into it, the last thing I want are vendors pointing at each other saying it's their problem, and it just creates this mess. But then also having the professional support from Canon on these tools, because we've integrated Iris and a lot of those routines, to the point where we don't have scanning people. We don't do that. It just sort of comes into Box, and the whole process is a natural workflow. We don't upset the boat. It's just, this is how people work, and it just kind of flows through. And so the things that therefore have, we've done over the last 7 years with the improvements in speed and accuracy and just imaging and being able to read it. That was one of the big rubs with AX. It's like, yeah, we could see it, but we can't read the document. It's too small, and just silly things like that. Is what keeps therefore in play. It's a for us, and for me in particular, it's a set it and forget it kind of a thing. We are working, we are just now migrating off of GroupWise email to 365. So we stick with things a long time. I think GroupWise was around since 1992 or something like that. And so, yeah, I don't foresee, and I have not heard from any other vendors for an EDM solution. And at this point, it'd be kind of ridiculous to take it out.
I love it. And we're pretty much at the end. I wish we could go on. There's so much good stuff here that I would love for us to impart on everyone. I would just ask you this final question, which is if you were able to roll back the clock, right, go back in time, start from a clean slate when you were just looking into a digital transformation, what would you do? And I guess really in essence, what kind of advice, right? I'm going to give you maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute
Okay.
For those that are interested in that same journey.
Yeah, this is an easy one. If I had known that we would be sitting here, 20 years later with 1.6 terabytes of documents inside of there, I would have put more emphasis on the AI routine as far as capturing the data that's on the documents, on the paper documents. We're working on some data analytics now that's going to tie historical diagnosis and behavioral information and create a profile for the people that we have served over the last 50 plus years. Come up with a routine or a process where we can, take the government's lead on being more self-directed in services and be able to cluster our users in such a way that a person getting our services can self-profile in our system and look at 50 years worth of services and outcomes and pick a path that's appropriate to them in their particular situation. It's something that we're working hard on. It has never been done before, but if I had this foresight back in 2001, I would have started that process. But having the information now, we can go backwards and do that. So I would say think long-term about your documents that you're getting, and take a look at the data and take a look at new ways of interpreting that data.
I love it. It's fantastic. As mentioned, we could go on all day, but thank you so much, Dominic. It is an honor and a pleasure to have had you for a little while today. And so with this, we'll go ahead and pass back over to Takano for our second speaker. Again, thank you so much, Dominic.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Great. Thank you, Dominic. So yes, our next story is going to be actually out of the central region of the US. So Jeff, seeing as that is your region, could you introduce us please to our next speaker?
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for sharing your story, Dominic and Jen. I think it's just fantastic, powerful message, on how the human aspect of electronic workflow is a real thing that we forget about really easily. For the next customer story, I'd like to welcome Dean Damas. He's the IT manager with Schillings. Dean will tell you more about his company in a minute. I'm going to start just real quickly by sharing, what I love about the Schillings story. Schillings is a textbook example of how we can bring Therefore in to target an initial kind of targeted specific application like accounts payable. And then our customer can then leverage the capability of that platform to really make it a foundational platform, not unlike what Dominic was talking about in many ways. That completely changes how they operate. And Dean's going to share that story today. So again, Dean, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite, as does the Schilling family. So I got a little slideshow here, and I'm just going to talk freely over it. So just let me know, Jeff, if you can see this okay. And we're going to start this off.
Yes, sir.
All right. So as Jeff said, my name is Dean DeMoss. I'm the IT manager here for the Schillings, and I basically run the entire company's IT department. I have a couple of people that help me out, but we do everything that needs to be done here. So Schillings have been around since 1945. They started off as a small lumber yard in St. John, Indiana. We currently have 3 locations in Indiana and Illinois. We've been growing viciously fast. I mean, in the last 3 years, it's been insane. Especially when COVID hit, I mean, the housing market out here is just, it's out of control, and it's been great business for us. So again, we started off as a small lumber yard, and we've grown to windows, floors, everything, outdoor living. We have an unbelievable kitchen and bath design department, custom cabinets, all that fun stuff. So basically, we got to a point where, we were being bombarded by paper, like pretty much all Therefore customers. And we looked at some different solutions, and Therefore was the one that made the most sense. And to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you who else we looked at 4 or 5 years ago, because that's how forgettable it was. And that's how great Therefore has been. So it all started just with AP, like I think everybody does. And we just had our accounting department, we'd get an invoice and they'd make 2 copies, they take it over to purchasing, and then hopefully they wouldn't lose it. Constantly walking back and forth, getting notes, and everybody fighting over who lost what, just so we can get bills paid. And then we also got, with us growing so fast, we were gonna have to hire more people just to manage paper. And so that's when we decided to really start looking at a document management solution. And we went with Therefore. The big thing was the workflows, and being able to have accounting and purchasing department just work seamlessly together, and not have problems with losing things, getting things paid on time, to get proper discounts from our vendors and everything. And it stemmed out from there. So I won't bore you with AP, because everybody does AP. Where we've grown is when the introduction of eForms came about, and we saw the opportunity with this, and wow, what can we do with this? And turns out a lot. So basically, just one quick one here you can see here is we moved all our marketing team. They had a standard ticketing system, the same as our IT ticketing system, and we moved it into Therefore. It made sense. It was easier for our employees to see where their requests are, and easily put in what they needed. So a lot of times it was, we have tags that are missing, or hey, our signage is incomplete. They could easily take a picture, drop it into the form, and marketing could easily say, oh, this is a lot faster than having to contact the employee, well, to find out exactly what they needed. So the forms is what really took off, especially during COVID, and we're trying to find ways when, hey, how can we make things a little bit more less paper, less handing things off, and digital forms became the way to go. So as you can see, we've really taken it to the next level here. So off to the right here, we have a screenshot. This is basically all of our current active workflows that we are using in Therefore. we're going through all of our different departments. We're accounting, sales is where we're really starting to move, therefore, into the last frontier really on really getting them integrated. HR has some new things coming. We were doing all of our COVID screening. We just stopped doing COVID screening yesterday, which was great. IT, we're moving our help desk ticketing system in here right now. We've tested out with just our new hires and terminations, working with HR, and it's worked out great. So we're gonna move from a traditional ticketing system into Therefore. And then I'm gonna show you a couple screenshots here of some samples of what we've done here. And when we went with Therefore, it was a full integration with Iris for the AP side. So basically all of our invoices come in and are all automated through mailbox monitoring, through Iris, and then going into Therefore for the workflow side of things. So we've created all kinds of forms that are triggering all kinds of workflows. Everything from our warranty claims process for flooring, for windows and doors. Our returns process is now in Therefore. That one was a big one. Our returns process is kind of crazy how we do things here, and it's just because of the layout of our facilities. And we went from a paper form, three separate paper forms, depending on what the return was, into one form that was determined by a drop-down list on what form you were going to get to determine where that path was and what the process was going to be for the people at our sales counters. Again, our internal marketing and IT requests, we've done all of our equipment reimbursements. I'm sorry, equipment, this is actually a typo here. Our equipment requisition forms, and actually I take that back. This is, we are getting ready to roll out an equipment reimbursement. We are starting to, for operations folks, they're going to get reimbursements on equipment they buy. That is actually something we are rolling out. We are doing vendor insurance tracking. So our vendor insurance certificates, basically we have an endless loop of a workflow for our accounting team that keeps track of that. So every year they're getting reminders on which vendors due for an insurance certificate refresh. Again, all tracked in here. All of our new permits that we get that are for the local construction in the Chicagoland area, we upload all of those to Therefore. We keep all of our contractor information for all of our builders in Therefore. And if it is a new contractor, a new builder that comes through on a permit, it brings all their information in, and then our sales managers can then assign that new builder / contractor to one of our contractor sales team, so they can work with them to potentially get new business. Our legal counsel uses the case management system in Therefore for all of his lawyer stuff. So he's been pretty happy with it. He's having everything easily obtainable in there has been great for him. We moved our new job credit form into Therefore. That was, again, a handwritten thing that salespeople filled out. Now it's digital. It now goes directly to accounting, and then they go through the process of researching jobs and researching, new customers, and for credit and for building, to be able to purchase building materials from us. And that was all done by paper, and occasionally those forms would get misplaced or accidentally put in a pile that was supposed to get shredded, and then a customer would have to refill it out. Not anymore. It's done one time. Everything's tracked. The salespeople can easily see in the workflow where it's at as far as the research and approval process goes. Our e-commerce site, we've moved to forms for damage claims. That's a real basic form and workflow. For sales, we started doing our special order confirmations. That's basically our simple sign-offs for a customer to look at and go, if you're doing a special order, you are verifying that these are the proper dimensions and everything you want, because we're buying a special custom built thing. Our driveway waivers are kind of neat. That is a form that we've pushed out to all of our CDL drivers' iPhones. So if a customer did not fill out a waiver for dropping off material in store, the CDL driver can get it directly from the customer on site, right on his phone, fills it out, signs it. He can take pictures, add to it, and then it gets sent to our dispatcher to then add that driveway waiver form to wherever they keep it. And then one of our new things here is for our inventory team, they're keeping track of all their inventory adjustments in Therefore. So as you can see, we've really gone crazy and we're doing more. I think I have 4 new requests on what we're doing next and what we're going to be building in here. So this Therefore is very powerful. If you're thinking about it, I would just get it. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of examples here of what we're doing. Here's our flooring warranty form. This is just the cover page. It's all built on tabs in the form. So basically, once you get to one of the other tabs, depending on what you pick is what's going to show up. And I just kind of want to show you guys how our workflows are going on a couple of these. And as you can see, depending on what it is, we have a couple different options here. It could be vendor, it could be inspection by one of our guys. And then basically everything's automated as far as emails go in the process. We're updating the data automatically depending on what they select in the workflow process. And this has really helped our warranty team tremendously to keep track of things. Before, they were keeping track of everything in an Excel spreadsheet, and just, who wants to look at Excel all day long when you could easily just go in and filter and see what you need in the workflow portion of Therefore. Here's our window service warranty form. Again, it's tab based. Just kind of put the home page on here. So where it says unit 1 here, that's basically, I think we could add up to like 10 windows on here. So you can just keep adding on. Pictures get included in. So if there's a problem with, anything on the window, they can take pictures, can be added to the form, and then they get dropped in, included with everything once it's submitted. And again, workflow, it's doing several different things. There's many different ways a window service request or warranty can go. So we have the workflow doing all that. And again, some of this is all just being based on what the form was. So depending on which portion this goes into was dependent on how they selected in the form. So it's basically everything's all logic based and it works. And the only time I have requests is to add things or change things or hey, can we add this? Can we add this step to the workflow? And this one's a little bit different. So this one is our kitchen design team. So our kitchen design, everything is custom with them. So cabinets, bathrooms, they'll even do, they may have the countertops, all that fun stuff. But basically this is all case management for them, and another workflow for our purchasing team. But they have these giant folders that have everything in it: blueprints, design layouts, sign-off sheets, checklists. I mean, just one folder would be, like this thick of just information. And we've digitized all that now. And so basically when they have a new sale, they kick off a new case and all the information gets dumped into all these different folders. So basically everything you see here in these folders was all versions of paper. All this is done in Therefore now. Oops, let me go back here. So again, and then we have a workflow based on how this goes to our basically our the managers in the kitchen sales department, and basically the folks that are checking everything to make sure all the measurements are correct, and what the measurements say is what we're ordering for the special order cabinets. countertops, all that. And depending on who the person is, certain people have less approval processes, whereas certain designers will have more approval processes if they're newer and whatnot. So that workflow is based off all of this. And again, it's all as soon as they start a new case for a new sale, it kicks off, it goes to them. They have this checklist that is built into Therefore that they fill out, submit it, and it goes off to our order management team in depending on which location they are, if they're in our Illinois location or Indiana location. So that's some examples of what we're doing here, and we're going to be doing a lot more. We're getting ready to roll out. Our sales team is, instead of submitting their special orders to our purchasing department by email, they're going to be filling out a form, and it's going to start a workflow. Our fleet repairs is going from a ticketing system like IT and help and marketing into Therefore. We're moving we're putting a form on all of the CDL drivers' iPhones for their backup mileage. So say one of the GPS trackers on the truck fails, right now they're doing everything by hand for filling out their mileage sheets for backup. We're going to be doing it where they just click an icon on their phone, fill it out, and it'll auto, depending on what vehicle they're in, it'll pull up the last mileage that was entered and put that in as the beginning mileage. So it'll be one less thing they'll have to write down. Sales leads, we're getting ready to roll out, and these are two new things we're doing. Uniform clothing requests. So basically, if somebody's HR is right now is managing everything on a piece of paper on, hey, I need new jacket, new shirts, new sweatshirts. So that's going to be done in Therefore, and same with our company vehicle requests. Basically, right now somebody's sending an email to dispatch, and they're trying to keep track of who requested a vehicle, a truck, an Explorer, or something to go to a job site or to go to a customer. And now that'll all be tracked in here, so they'll be able to easily tell who's requested what, so somebody's not just coming grabbing keys and leaving when a vehicle was reserved. So, and all in all, I think when we've been with Therefore now just over 4 years, I think we're pushing 5 terabytes worth of data storage on our local server where we have everything. So there's a lot going on at the Therefore level at Schillings. We plan on putting everything in here, and we are putting everything in here. So that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the invite.
All right, thank you so much, Dean. Thank you for sharing your story. I said it when we spoke earlier, and I'll say it again. I don't think I've ever seen a customer use so many different use cases of Therefore. Like, I've seen all of these at different customer sites, but all together within one. That's amazing. And really, really an amazing job. I know you're managing the system and you're doing all of this yourself. So really incredible job. And we're so glad to hear that the Schillings family is happy with Therefore, and of course that it makes your life easier as well.
It does, and it's a great product, and it's been really helpful, and I love working with it.
That's great. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. All right, so we have pretty much reached the end of our session today. So to close us off, I would like to ask my team members to join me. Maybe we have a few words to say. I know I have some ideas. Michael, could you start us off?
Thank you, Connor. You all have strong plans for the future, and we believe that digitization is the path to success. And yes, it's about technology. Yes, it's about reliability, or as our guest speaker, Dominic, has so nicely put it, the lack of friction. But we think foremost, it's about people. So our key message is, we are here for you.
Thank you, Michael. Jen?
So first of all, a big thank you again to Dominic and also to Dean, which e-forms all day long. Really fantastic. So really cool to see those use cases. Really excited for the future, excited for our upcoming update with the Teams integration. And as Michael had mentioned, it's definitely very much a large part about the tech, which therefore does well, but it's really about the people. And reminded today, hopefully all of you were reminded, or some food for thought, that what Therefore does is helps not only you, helps your clients, and really is a people-centric solution. So hopefully everyone enjoyed.
Thanks, Jen.
Awesome.
Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, I've had plenty of chance to speak today, so I'll do my best to keep it short. But most importantly, as you've all said, thank you so much to everyone for joining. Special thank you to Arthur Saldivar from Canon for great insight during our panel discussion, along with Stefan. And finally, thank you so much, particularly for Dominic and Dean, for sharing the success stories, including Dean's screenshot where I counted 28 active workflows. You might have more than that. That might be a record. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. Finally, I was inspired to add this comment just watching these last two segments, and it is this: the Therefore tagline from a marketing standpoint is people, process, information. And while I knew we'd share a lot of information today, our customers really blew me away personally by showing how the solution can directly affect people in a very personal way, the people aspect. And then Dean, I think, did a great job of showing the process part of this. How can an organization really change how they operate? And that really, really hit home with me. And it made me very proud, that's our tagline, because it really fits what happens out there when the platform is leveraged successfully. So again, I think everyone joining really appreciated that contribution today. And thank you so much for that.